Hello, everyone, and welcome to the live show discussion of City of Glass by Cassandra Clare. I am extremely excited to have you guys here. So if you guys don't know, just as like a general reminder, I'm hosting a year-long read-along for the entire Shadowhunter Chronicles by Cassandra Clare, and all of the information you need to join in on the read-along, or if you just want to check out the Facebook page that we have to talk about the Shadowhunter Chronicles all year long, all of that information is in the discussion of this live stream. And if any of you aren't able to finish watching this live show as it's live, it will be published on my channel afterwards. But I do have some really amazing, kind co-hosts with me this time around to discuss City of Glass. So we're going to jump into some of our non-spoiler thoughts about this third book in the Mortal Instrument series. And then later, once everyone is finished introducing themselves, we are going to jump into spoilers. But I guess as the host, I will start. So this is my 9th time reading City of Glass. And I actually really loved it this time around. City of Glass, like, for some reason, it just, like, never has been my absolute favorite in this series. So in the beginning, I'm always, like, not as excited to read it. But by the midpoint, I am so engaged with the story, and I ended up loving it so much. And I feel like I say this every time I reread the series, but, like, I feel like it was one of my favorite rereads of all time for this book. It was so good. I love it so much. And it's a fantastic sort of, like, end to the first set of trilogies of this story. I will start with Vanessa, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. Like Emma said, my name is Vanessa, and I have a booktube channel. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yeah,
just checking.
Yeah, you're fine.
Okay. So I have a booktube channel under my name, Vanessa K Fan, and it should be pretty easy to find me. I like the same thing across everything. This is only my second time reading City of Glass, actually. I first read it when I was like 13 or 14, and I like breezed through the whole of the Mortal Instrument series, or like as much as there was at the time. And then for some reason, I just kind of never went back and reread it. And it's really interesting because I'm now 22. So although I remember like all the big plot points that lead up to the current day books, I forgot a lot of the smaller things that happened. So it was really fun, like going back this time around and seeing all the different relationships between the different characters, and also like going back into like teenager Vanessa's thought process. Yeah, that was really interesting. So really excited to talk about this with everyone.
So awesome. Ryan, do you want to go next?
Yes, perfect. Okay, so my name is Ryan. I do have a booktube. It's called Ryan's Reads. Pretty ironic because I just started it 2 days ago, and now we're doing this, so it's pretty fun. This is my 4th time reading the Mortal Instrument series. I started it when I was 13, and now I'm 19, and I love it just as much. And I'm just so excited to, talk about it.
Najwa?
Yes, so my name is Najwa, and I'm from Canada. This is actually my first time ever reading The Mortal Instruments at the age of 25. Hey! So it's definitely been... It was really funny because I never thought that I would read the YA book series, but lately this year, all I've been reading YA fantasies or dystopian. So City of Bones, or just the Mortal Instruments in general, has become my favorite. I have a book. I don't have a booktube channel, but I have a bookstagram, and it's called A Great Catfish Affair. And I just post lots of pictures of books and stuff. If you want to come and follow me, you can. And I'm very excited about this today.
I'm very excited to have you all here with me. And finally, we have Marina.
Yeah, hello, my name is Marina. I'm from Guatemala, so English is not my native language, so I'm sorry.
Your English is perfect, don't worry about it.
So I have a booktube channel. It's named Marina Channel. It's in Spanish, of course. Someone knows and wants to see. The link is in the description, I guess. Okay, I started reading the Mortal Instruments around 2009, yeah, like almost 10 years ago, and I have followed everything that Cassandra Clare has written. I have read it. I absolutely love it. And this is my second time reading City of Glass. It was a really new experience. As Vanessa said, I was younger and now I'm more mature and I felt a lot of things really different. But it was really exciting reading it again.
I'm so excited that all of you are here to discuss it with me, and I'm so excited that we have so many different people like at various stages in reading the story. So I think at this point we are going to jump into spoilers for City of Glass, only City of Glass, so try and keep the spoiler or the chat section exclusive to the first 2 books, the Mortal Instrument series. And so we're going to jump into spoilers now. If you haven't read City of Glass, you're going to get spoiled if you watch any more of this. So for now, you guys can definitely send us questions in the chat section of YouTube if you have any discussion topics that you want to chat about with us, or if any of my lovely co-hosts have any specific topics they want to discuss, feel free to bring them up now. Does anyone have anything they want to dive into to start?
Not specifically. I really enjoyed it.
I'm a hater, so the first one I wanted to talk about was the Magnus and Alex things in the whole book was like how the relationship just transitioned from, you know, unrequited to no, we actually love each other. It was, what do you guys think?
I have to say, for me, this reread of City of Glass really like solidified my love of Alec Lightwood, and I feel like I have such a greater appreciation for their relationship now that I just don't think that Alec is annoying 100% of the time.
Yes,
it was really wonderful to watch not only Alex struggle with accepting his feelings for Magnus, distancing himself from his past feelings for Jace, and embracing his sexuality. It was so pleasant to read that, but it was also interesting for me to read about Magnus's position in this and how like he didn't want to be involved with Alec if he wasn't going to like be all in with him. And so I just really liked seeing the contrasting views on their current situation, and then by the end of it, watching them come together and just find their happiness in each other. I love it so much.
Yes, I definitely agree. I think being older now and reading it, it was easier to empathize with Alec and feel bad for him, because you watch him be in love with Jace for 3 whole books and he hasn't come out to his parents yet. And it was so much better this time around because you can really understand their relationship. And that's how it was for me anyway.
I thought it was really funny how Magnus, I feel like a couple of times in this book, he would be like, I am however many years old, like 800 years old, and I know what people are like. And then Alec would go and prove him wrong. And he would be like, I'm going to kiss you in the middle of the hall in front of everyone. Yes. And it was just like, I loved how surprising the relationship was in this book. Like before this, I feel like it was definitely like unrequited love because Alec wasn't ready. And then at some point it just like clicked for him, and that was really fun to read.
I actually didn't remember how Magnus actually like confront him, and when demons are already in the city and Alex finds him and says like, what are you doing here? And they have a dialogue, and Magnus out of nowhere says like, you're stupid, I love you. And I'm like, I didn't think it was like this, but I loved it again. And yeah, they're so cute. And I really felt it for Alec, how hard it's for him, like to notice that he really loves Magnus. And whatever he felt for Jace was something like safe. Somebody tell him that, like
Jace,
he just likes Jace because he's safe, your safe zone, and you can keep in that and not come out. So I really like that.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So
I also just the fact that Jace.
No, keep going. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say I also like the fact that Jace also kind of like came straight out to Alec and was like, you know, into you, and that's not the thing. But there's Magnus. Got Alec thinking, and I think that's kind of like where in his face where he was like, okay, maybe this isn't gonna happen, and he saw that there was a potential with Magnus that I loved it because just seeing like how their just relationship progressed throughout the whole book to the very end. Like I cried when he introduced to his parents at the ball. Like it was so beautiful. It was everything I wanted in the ending.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I definitely think something clicked for Alec when Jace like finally said, "Kiss me." Like, I know you're like, just kiss me, and he didn't.
Yeah.
I think something definitely clicked for Alec then. And then also seeing Clary draw the fearless rune on Alec and having him being like, "Hey, Mom, Dad, guess what? I have a boyfriend and he's a warlock." Malik is, I love it.
It was so good. We also got a really great question, which I'm like so excited to dive into. What was everyone's first impression of Sebastian?
Oh my god.
I know for me, I know a lot of people have said like when Sebastian is introduced, like they start shipping him with Clary. Yeah. I never had that experience when I first read the book. I just thought he was a really interesting character. Like when we meet him and he's like this like nice guy that like from the beginning he like kind of seemed a little shady for me. With like his like obsession with like taking care of Clary and like helping her out. Like it always like set me off a little bit. But he quickly became one of my like favorite characters in the series, and I just find him so fascinating. So I'm so interested to see what you guys also think.
Yeah, no, he was so charming when we first met him, and I was one of the people that was like, he's charming, I like him.
Yeah.
I definitely didn't ship him with Clary at all, because Jace and Clary, hello, but I can't really remember my very first impression of him. I just remember thinking, ooh, new guy character, he seems into Clary, like, let's see where it goes.
Yeah, I think I remember. Like, I don't remember how I first felt about him because that was just so long ago now. Yes. But reading it this time around, I'm like, I think when I first read it, I shipped the two of them together because it's YA fantasy. And I was like, he's a guy, she's a girl, he's cute, she's cute. Like, he's clearly not interested in anyone else. They have to be together. But then I also remember thinking, like, I really want Jace and Clary to be together. So clearly that's not going to happen. Yeah, and now reading it again, I was like, how did I miss all these signs that he was evil? Like when I think Cassandra Clare describes him as like mild-mannered, it's like, you never describe someone as mild. Like, what kind of description is that?
I don't remember the first impression. I'm sorry. And I don't know, it was so long ago, but I remember that this time I already knew him, so I was like, I don't like this guy. And you can find now, when you already know who he is, that he is evil, and he deliberately was seducing his sister. So it was like, oh my god, this guy is so awful. I just thought that he's sick. Every time that I read about him and whatever he did to Clary, I was like, he's so sick. I hate him. I cannot stand him. So, no, I don't remember. I didn't ship them neither the first time, I think. It was just like, okay, he's cute, but I don't like him.
I think I was one of the very few who was kind of like, no, I don't like him at all from like the beginning. Like, this guy is super shady. You know, no one's that like, let me help you. Let me do this. Like, I want to be your boyfriend. Like, no one so much like that. So I was very off by him. The other thing was like very awkward with the whole thing was everyone, especially Simon and Clary, were like, and I know him, I've seen him. Yeah. And it was kind of like, okay, there's gonna be a plot twist and Sebastian's gonna be involved. And like, yeah, I did him from the beginning, but it's also because I was a lover of Jace and Clary from the beginning. Obviously there was like a point where it's kind of like, okay, maybe not. But like I kind of was like, no, maybe Jace and Clary are going to be together at the end. Like, this has to happen, you know. Cassandra Clare can't write like 6 novels about like this unrequited love and not has it happen.
Yeah, I felt that. Yeah.
I also this time I also picked up on the fact that like they kept saying that Sebastian looked familiar. Yes. And I really love it because when you look back and you go back to the time when like Jace is being, everyone thinks that Jace is Valentine's son, every time he's described as being similar to Valentine, it's always in his mannerisms.
Yes.
And with Sebastian, it's with his looks. And so I always thought that was so interesting how like it was written in that like he picked up on certain behaviors of Valentine, whereas Sebastian actually looked like him and Jace didn't. So that was definitely a new thing I discovered during this reread, and I'm really appreciative of that.
Yeah, I definitely picked on that as well. And even when Simon sees Sebastian for the first time, he thinks like, oh, something about him looks familiar, but he couldn't put his finger on it. And it was 2 sentences, and it was never mentioned again. But like, it was the little things like that.
Yeah.
A question: what did you guys think of Clary and Sebastian's first kiss? And like the fact that like Jace and Clary have this like huge unrequited love, but then it turns out they're not actually related. But then Clary has one kiss with Sebastian, and like I feel like I had that reaction as well, like ew, like get away. But you know, like yeah, like he ends up actually. But she didn't know it, right?
Yeah, right. I love that line where it's like the first sentence of a chapter, I think, or something. When after we find out that Clary and Sebastian are brothers, and Simon's like, "So you did actually kiss your brother?"
Yeah.
Yeah, their first kiss was gross. It was gross in the beginning. I you know, like while I was like interested in Sebastian because he was charming at first, like after that first kiss where Clary like just felt something wrong, like I knew there was something off with him, and it just always been off-putting to me. You know.
Yeah, he basically forced himself on her, which was obvious like turn off right away. Yeah. And then something that always stuck with me from that scene is when she took her hand away, she looked at it and it was black. And even like, obviously now you know, and it's like, oh, okay, it's Sebastian, like you dyed his hair black. But like, I don't know, that scene just always sticks out to me with that. And then something also really funny about Clary and Sebastian is when he is talking to her and walking her home for the first night, she says, yeah, like I understand, but I don't have time to get to know you. Sorry, but you seem really nice. So I thought that was funny too.
What I found this time reading that scene is that Clary actually is kind of up to it because she's in this mood, like she wants to forget Jace and to start thinking of him as a brother. And she at the beginning is like, okay, yeah, let's kiss. And then she's like, no, something's wrong. And I didn't like it this time because Sebastian is so pushy. And he's like, why not? And she even grabs her and hurts her. So no, that kiss is like a
yeah.
Yeah, that was just really gross reading that whole part because in the first book, we see Jason Clary's kiss, and it's such a beautiful and romantic kiss. And then this one, which was kind of like very off-putting because, again, he forced himself on her. And for her, it was kind of like she didn't know what to do. So she was like, okay, like, let me try it. And right away she knew, okay, this isn't it. And she even said, it seems very familiar, but wrong. And again, it was like a foreshadow of him being something like as we go along with the story. So I did not like it, but I didn't like Sebastian from the beginning. I guess that's just me.
Definitely. We've gotten a lot of questions about one thing that I really want to talk about, and it's how we feel about the angel being the one to kill Valentine and having it not be a direct result of one of the characters in the story. Like it's not technically Clary or Jace who like shoves a sword through Valentine's chest. It's the angel. And I actually didn't really realize the significance of this until I don't want to say anything spoilery, but until an adaptation of the books. So I'm curious as to how you guys feel about that choice of Cassie's to make it be the the angel that he believes that he's been living his whole life for, to be the one to smite him in the end.
I would call it divine justice. I felt that like, wow, it was the angel. I didn't remember that neither. I felt it right. Like that whole plan backfired him like really bad. So it was okay for me.
Yeah. It's just like a really great example of irony, in my opinion. Yeah, because you know, like he sets up his like whole life has been about doing what he believes that the angel wants him to do, and as soon as he presents himself to the angel, he's like, I don't care, like leave me alone, and he just kills him. And I think it's a really intellectual way to go about his death, other than having it be like Jace or Clary do it, which is like the obvious choice.
I don't know though. I feel like on the other hand, it's also like, at least I didn't think of this before about the angel killing them and not the characters, but I feel like in some way it's also a way of like preserving the innocence, I guess, of like Jace and Clary. Like Jace, even though he was ready to do it, like clearly still didn't want, like why would you ever want to kill your own father, right? So it's like by having the angel do it, you never actually have to get Jace to do something like that dirty, you know? And I feel like by the end, Valentine also, like, the angel kind of confronts Valentine and is like, you're not doing this for like God, you don't believe in heaven really, you're doing this for yourself. So I see the poetic justice, but I'm also like, at that point Valentine was just doing it for himself.
No, I've never thought about that too in depth, honestly. Like I think Valentine stands like pretty much opposite of what everything the Shadowhunter should stand for, and he's standing there trying to talk to Raziel, how do you say his name, and his dead son is at his feet, and his daughter is back there trying to, like, I don't even know, she has the rune on, she can't talk, she can't move, and it's just, oof, I don't know, I haven't thought about that question too in depth though, but it definitely is karma and well deserved.
I felt that, like, because Raziel came out and he saw the scene and stuff, he realized, like, I'm thinking, I don't know, maybe this is just me, but he could potentially, like, see the human aspect that Valentine was portraying. And he realized that this man is not a Shadowhunter, that this man is, like, a cold-blooded killer and stuff, and he doesn't deserve to living as part of the Nephilim. And for me, it was definitely where he was like, I'm sorry, you are not what I gave Jonathan Shadowhunter the mortal instruments for, not for this. It was to help the mundane, to help the human survive. So definitely it was really well deserved. And I mean, that scene was so emotional because it was perfect, I think, because Clary and Jace got what they needed at that time to kind of get that closure, especially with Valentine.
Definitely. While we're on the topic of the scene, how do you guys feel about the fact that Jace died?
I just saw that in the comments. It was like, wow. Definitely didn't see it coming. I feel like, because I was like, the second time rereading it, I was like, okay, I kind of remember this happening. The first time I was like, you don't kill the hero. Like, who does that?
Cassandra Clare does that.
I know for me, the first time I read this book, I remember I was sitting on my porch, and I actually had, I don't know why I did this, but I looked up something about City of Glass. Like, I think I needed to clarify a plot point. And it ended up being a full summary of the book. And so I ended up seeing that Jace died. And I was like, what? And so I ended up reading the whole summary because I was like, no, there's no way that Jace died. So I technically knew everything that happened before I actually read it. But nonetheless, it was still like so shocking for me. Like, I read that scene, even though I knew what happened, I knew he was coming back to life before I even read that he died. I reread his death like 4 times because I just did not believe it. And this was at the time when, like, I had not read a ton of books. Like, I had literally just read like Harry Potter and Twilight. So killing the hero was like so unexpected for me.
Yeah.
And I thought it was a really, really great plot point.
Yeah, definitely a plot twist. I have this really bad habit when I read like a book and a character dies, I don't believe that they're dead until like that series is over, it's finished, and I know for a fact that they are dead. So I just remember not believing it, saying, nope, it's fine, it's fine. And then when like he didn't come back, I started skipping ahead a couple pages, and I was like, no, he has to come back. And then he came back. And so obviously I didn't get that full impact, like, whoa, Jace is dead. This person we've been following and empathizing with and loving for 3 books is dead. So so I didn't get that full impact. But if someone that did, I can't even imagine the actual pain. So
Yeah.
I was actually listening to the audiobook.
Oh gosh.
And I remember I was driving to work, and as soon as like that thing came where like she was like, Jace isn't speaking, Jace isn't talking, Jace is dead. And I was like, no, I have to pull over, take out a physical copy of the book, the page, and I was like, okay, I think I'm all right. And then I turned the audiobook back on and went to work. I was like, no, I need to know what happens.
It's so wild.
To me, it's like Ryan said, I don't believe he's dead until the book is over. I mean, when I read like he's dead, I'm like, she has to fix this. She cannot do it like that. I'm like, okay, let's keep reading. This has to be fixed, and it was. So I was like, okay, just scare me a little bit.
What do you think? What do you think was worse, Jace dying or having like the Clary Jace brother sister thing over 3 books? Because Jace dies for like a tiny portion of the book, but it's huge. Clary and Jace are unrequited for 3 books.
Oh my god, Jace dying was so much worse.
Well, I'm actually really curious. Did you guys like know they weren't related when you read the first 3 books? Like, did you like try and find out, or did you like actually read it thinking they were related?
I didn't know until I read that summary, and then I was like, okay, like I can die happy. I know this.
Yeah, I remember reading City of Bones and seeing, oh, they're related, and I freaked out and looked it up. So that's how I went. But no, I can't imagine reading all 3 books thinking they were actually related. So that was pretty painful too.
I actually I was reading the second book and I didn't know, and then someone ended up spoiling me, and they were like, "Oh, Jace and Clary are related," and I'm like, "Oh, okay." Well, I'm like, "Okay, now makes sense," and I can't get creeped out of these scenes, so I was okay with it, but I was still kind of like annoyed that it got spoiled. But I mean, I think it was okay because then I got to ship the scenes that I really shouldn't have shipped when we were still related. So
definitely.
Well, I think that they being related was worse. But they give you some hints from book 2, from City of Ashes. There are some things that you are saying, like the Inquisitor saying, like, then you are, and you're like, okay, there's something in there. And now in City of Glass, there's a couple of times where they to people is like, no, then you are not, because when Hutch is dying, he's actually trying to say something to Jace. So you already kind of know that there's something hidden in there. So for me, it was like, no, this has to be fixed too.
There were a couple of questions about how we feel about Max. To get sad for a little bit. I personally thought that his death was so unexpected because I never expect like the characters who have like less involvement in a story to get killed off. Like I always expect it's going to be like the big characters who have a lot of influence, and Max was in the story for such a short period of time. But his death is so central to so many of the characters in this story because half the main characters are his sibling.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And definitely rereading it and like looking at the parts where he like believes that somebody else is like somebody's climbing the demon towers and he's correct, and it's so sad.
It is really sad because you get to see his connection with Clary and the Magna, the Magnet and the books and everything, and it is really sad.
Yeah,
I loved seeing like how Jace was with Max, and you could see like their relationship like a little bit here and there. And I feel like when Max died, all I could think was like, my poor baby Jace, like this is going to affect him so bad. Yeah. And that's all I cared about at that point. But I remember because it was like the scene where Sebastian was like, "Oh, I got rid of one of you Lightwoods," and the scene that ended was with Isabel and Max. I remember just being in this suspension of disbelief about who was it? Was it Isabel or was it Max? And I was like, please don't be any of them. But when it the revelation came and it was Max, I was just crying in my car because I was listening to the audio.
Yeah, no, he was also holding on to the little toy Shadowhunter, the wooden Shadowhunter that Jace had. That hurt so bad, honestly.
No.
Oh, so sad. All of this is sad.
Yeah, it's so sad. Also, because this is kind of related to Max's death, obviously no spoilers for the rest of the books. How do you guys feel about the development of just like the general friendship between Izzy and Simon? Because that's something that really starts in this book, and I think that they're the way they come together, it's very subtle, but it's also like very heartwarming. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because they had a connection since book one, but I'm pretty sure it's mentioned. Oh, this is what's mentioned. Simon, when it's from his point of view, he says that he thought Isabel, when the first time he met her, he finally thought some girl could finally shine out like Clary. Like maybe this is it. Maybe this is the one. So from there, it's just you gotta ship it. And so I just wanted them to be together so bad. And then when he goes to her and tries to comfort her, it's just I like them a lot.
I think this is the book for me where like Simon specifically shone so much.
Yes.
Like him and his relationship with just like every single character in this book was just perfect. But with him and Izzy at first, I was kind of like, because like with the thing that you said where it was like, finally he's found a girl that might shine brighter than Clary, but then it was also like, oh, he's kind of afraid of Izzy. It was kind of like a self-esteem thing that he was too afraid to like approach her, you know? And then I think by the end of this book, he just grows so much into himself that I really loved like seeing him and Izzy, and also kind of Maya as well, and like those three.
Maya and Izzy and Simon.
I guess I'm like one of the few people who don't like Simon and Isabel together, and I don't know, maybe I'm like the unpopular opinion, but I don't know, like I feel like Simon is such like a central part of the story, but not be with anybody. Like I don't even like him with Maya. I just find that I want him to just be a central punch in the groups. But I know that there's going to be a relationship and romance and stuff, because I remember that scene where like he goes to, console Isabel after Max's death. And all she can say is, well, you know what will make me feel better. And then, and then Clary's like, oh, he hasn't come home. And Luke goes, and Luke comes back with this big smile on his face. And he's like, and I was like, oh my God, did they have sex? I'm like, is this a thing? Yeah.
When Clary asks him, she's like, did you have sex? It's like, you can't ask someone that.
And Simon is like, I don't know.
But he doesn't. So I was kind of happy about that.
Yeah. I just love the fact that like Simon is the one to comfort Isabel, because like it's really true that sometimes like family and your loved ones just can't provide for you in a way that somebody else you're not close to is. Like sometimes it really is just easier to open up to somebody who doesn't know your past history and doesn't have all these prejudgments about you. And so I think it was a really like nice way to start this sort of new friendship between the two of them. And I feel like it really opens up a lot of opportunities in the future, because now like it's just another set of characters that are connected in a different way that they aren't before. And so I just always thought it was really sweet about how like Simon even just like thought to take the initiative to try and talk to her, to try and make things easier on her, because he knows that he's blaming herself, and he tries to draw from his own experience. So I think it was an adorable moment when they like really connected.
It was perfect because also he already lost his dad, so he knows how it feels like to lose someone so close to you. So it was a really good moment. I really loved it.
Absolutely. Let's see what other questions we have. So we've gotten a few questions about how, if anyone watching doesn't know, The Mortal Instruments was originally supposed to be a trilogy, and City of Glass was going to be the last book. So it does have a pretty like complete ending. Like I personally feel like this is definitely a point in which a story could end. Although there are, you know, near the end, like Clary like rejects a favor from the Sealy Queen, and so we're like, we're gonna have to keep an eye on her. And so there's like a lot of, you know, there's a few like open ends, but there's also you know, it's a big conclusion. So I'm curious as to like how you guys feel about like if this were just like the trilogy, and how you feel that like the characters have grown over the last 3 books to this point.
I think that there is a lot too much left to the imagination for me personally as a reader. Like, I know some people definitely would accept this as an ending. Like, it's just, like I said before, left to your own imagination, kind of like write the rest by yourself kind of thing. I personally don't like that as a reader. I like it being finite and done, and just knowing like these people are together, this person, it just this, that, the other thing. And I don't know. I don't think I would like it as a last book personally for me, but I was aware that that was supposed to be the last book.
Yeah, I wasn't aware until this year when I kind of like went back into reading the Mortal Instruments, and then I kind of like was okay with Googling stuff because I knew I'd read it previously, so it was like okay to Google spoilers. Yeah. I wasn't aware until this year that the first 3 books were supposed to be like a trilogy, and that was it. And then when I went into reading it again, I was like, oh, I noticed all the like loose ends, like the Sealy Queen thing, and just like a couple of other characters that I don't want to spoil later on, that I just thought, oh, like that endings could have been a lot better. And then I thought about the endings of the Mortal Instruments series as a whole, and I feel like I wouldn't have had a problem if it was just 3 books. But after reading like all the other books and knowing how it ended overall, I like that ending much more than like just here. Yeah.
For me, this was definitely not the ending. And I think the scene that solidified it for me was definitely where Jayce places the seraph blade in between like the spine and like crush the heart. And that's all we get. So we don't have like a conclusion to Sebastian's death or anything. And I'm like, this guy, he's not dead. Like, there's no way. No, this is not the end of the series. Like, Valentine's one, yes, but I get Sebastian as like the Valentine 2.0. So I'm just anticipating or expecting something to happen. So definitely not an ending for me.
I mean, no spoilers, but there is a really great quote in City of Ashes where Simon says, "Never believe the bad guy's dead until you find the body." So we'll have to see what happens for our next Mortal Instruments live show. But there's a lot of interesting ways this could go.
I spent like 2 or 3 years not knowing that there was going to be a next book.
Oh wow! So you read it when they were coming out?
Yes, I read it because what we had was Clockwork Angel. I was like crazy about Cassandra Clare, but that time I went to the library and they have Clockwork Angel, and I said like it's a prequel, and I was like, okay, this is cool. And it was like, I don't know, 2 or 3 years later, I wasn't that into internet and going to Google what's next. And then suddenly I find out the story continued like 3 years later, or 2 years, I don't know. And I was like, oh my God, this is so awesome. And I remember that when it was published, the preview was like, this is more like from Simon's point of view. And that was exciting because Cassie said like, okay, this is like a continuation. But it's not only about Clary and Jayce anymore. It's more like from Simon, and I was like, that's awesome. So yeah, I mean, it was okay for me when 3 books and nothing more, it was okay, but knowing that they were going on, that was like a good go.
So we have a really interesting question. Can we talk about the reunion between Clary and Jocelyn? I like how Clary didn't immediately forgive her. Instead, her anger and betrayal emerged from being lied to for all of her life. I personally loved this choice because I think it would be like so typical for Clary to be like so excited that her mom is okay and alive and be happy, but like there's still some really like wrong things that Jocelyn did, and I think I actually marked that scene and I was like, Jocelyn got what she deserved for Clary. Like, Jocelyn, girl, I love you, but like you were so wrong. And I just love how Clary is like, I would have the fact that like you were trying to protect me, but you left me defenseless in a world that I had no information about, and I'd probably be dead if I didn't just happen to find these people. And so I always loved that Clary was able to stand up for herself. And I think that like, although I do like Jocelyn as the character, and I'm happy that now with like the next 3 books, we actually get to see Clary and Jocelyn have a relationship. I was really happy with Clary's reaction. I think it was like the most warranted in this situation.
Yeah, I think Clary definitely grew into herself more as a character, like so well in this book. I definitely enjoyed her, like you said, like just standing up for herself against Jocelyn. And I definitely enjoyed that scene. And something else I also personally think as a reader is I was surprised she wasn't more mad at Magnus, to be totally honest, since he's the one that physically did it. I don't know. And then Luke kept it from her, so I was surprised. Well, she was mad at him in the first book. I don't know. It's just a whole thing of just absolute craziness because she literally took a part of Clary away. And they even said it in the first book, like, you might not get it back. You might. Like, who knows? Like, it's so uncertain. It's just so crazy. So I definitely think Jocelyn got what she deserved, even though I do like her as a character. And I also like that we see Jocelyn as a Shadowhunter in this book. Also, side note.
Yes.
I like seeing her being badass. Yes.
I felt that Jocelyn, the way that she did it wasn't appropriate, only because like Clary became a whole different person. Like Jocelyn knew her as the 15-year-old teenage daughter that she raised, and then now all of a sudden she's this shadow hunter. She's fighting against Valentine. She has all these new friends, and Jocelyn doesn't know her. So it made sense that Clary was angry, and Clary had every right to be. So for me, it was like, good for you, Clary. But at the same time, I was kind of like, Jocelyn, like, what did you expect when she was like, oh, Clary, like, don't say that? It's like, well, you know, you got kind of what you deserved because you took part of her away.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I love the way it all happened. Oh, sorry. I love the way it all happened as well. Like, I think that's what like Cassandra Clare does so well in general. Like, you would think that in this tense moment they would just be focusing on like fighting back against Valentine, but no, like all of a sudden it's just Clary being mad at her mum because her mum did something that she shouldn't have done. And I just love how like there are these little like pockets of like relationships in the middle of like this huge fight.
Okay, like side note, I just like have to mention since we're talking about Jocelyn, but I love this scene where Clary is proving to everyone that she has the ability to create new runes. And so the rune that she chooses shows everyone who they love most in the world. Oh my God, I like cried while reading it this time. It hit me so hard. But I love how really like the reconciling moment between Jocelyn and Clary is when Jocelyn says she's so proud of Clary for showing everyone they loved. And Clary's like, how did you know what I did? And Jocelyn says, because when everyone was yelling out names of other people, I only saw you. And I'm like,
Yeah.
That scene was so amazing in so many ways because Amadis goes Steven and my heart broke, and then Luke says Jocelyn ? And my heart broke again.
And I'm pretty sure Alex is Magnus.
Yep. Oh my God, that scene was really good. Definitely a very underrated scene.
I think it's one of my favorites in the entire series. After
I'm pretty sure Alex so Magnus because there's a scene that he says like, then Alec turned to watch Magnus and then me again.
Yes.
So I was like, yeah, he saw Magnus. And that's when I think he's like, yeah, he's the one. It's so good.
Oh my goodness, yes.
It's so good. Let's see what other questions.
There's actually something I wanted to bring up. It's not really a question.
Yeah, go for it.
It's more of a scene. When Clary finally gets to Idris and she walks in on Jace and Aline, and they have that whole blow up fight. I think it was a long way coming too, because he stands there and he's like, "You're not a shadow hunter. You never will be one of us." And then she goes, "Yep, I didn't think you were like Valentine, but now you are." That scene sticks out to me, and it's honestly, even though it's pretty weird to say, it's probably one of my favorites, to be honest. And you just see how destructive Jace is, like, for himself, and then she leaves and he punches the window, and it's just, like I said, it wasn't a question, but it was something I wanted to talk about.
I mean, I think we all know that Jace is like my favorite character of all time. But oh my god, he is so infuriating in this book. I don't think I've ever been more angry with a character I love so much. He is just so dumb. He constantly makes things harder on himself. And I just want to yell at him 24/7. You are so dramatic. He's so ridiculous. And that scene makes me so mad because, like, it's so infuriating.
Actually, that scene reminded me of something on other books, and I cannot say it. It's killing me. But yeah, but that scene was pretty illuminating about Jace and what he is. I cannot say it. I say you can see it spoiling. So yeah.
Oh, he's just so annoying.
I don't know. For me, I was like, oh my god, Jace, you're like protecting Clary again, and I was like totally for the scene because as a therapist, I'm like, oh, people get angry at the people that they love most. So when Jace is getting angry at Clary for legitimate reasons, because Clary was hecka annoying in this book.
Yes.
We can talk about that. I was like, oh my god, Jace is protecting her, and I understood, and I was like, Clary, like, don't say anything. And then she said that, and I was like, oh no, something's gonna happen. But what I loved about the ending of the scene was how Alex, like, you know what? I'm gonna heal like a mini. You can actually learn about, you know, what you need to do and stop being the way that you are. I love that. I was like, you go, Alex. You're so sassy. I love it.
I'm literally so mad at myself for just like sleeping on Alec Lightwood for the past 4 years. I'm like, he was so good from the beginning. I don't know what was wrong with me, but he's so good. I love him.
He is.
I thought it was really funny how Jace was like, you need to go back home. But then they just send Clary away and never actually see her go back home. They're just like, go home, Clary. And then she just goes back to Amethyst's. And it's like, she has no way of getting back home. Like, how is she supposed to go back home?
Oh, it's so good. I love it so much.
I would like to speak about this scene with the kiss between Clary and Jace.
Oh, goodness.
After the Readalong house crash. How do you feel? Because I already knew they weren't related, so I don't know, how was your first impression when you read that?
Well, this is after he thinks he has demon blood in him, so he's doing it to be destructive more than anything. Just like everything he does, he's trying to be destructive. So that scene, even though I like it and I like that they're just like together finally, it made me mad because he was just doing it to be like, whatever, I guess I can do whatever I want now.
Yeah, I think now, like, after reading it so many times, and it become like, I love seeing them together, obviously, and there's just such a build up to it that like you can't. Although you're like, if you believe that they're siblings in the moment, you're like, oh, this is wrong. But there's still, if you like them together, there's still an air of relief that comes with the scene because you're like, finally.
Yeah.
But now, after reading it so many times, it does annoy me because I'm like, Jason's doing this for all the wrong reasons, and he's so freaking dramatic. So annoying.
Just in the comments, someone's like, Jace is a total diva. Yes.
Oh my god, it's so annoying. But yeah, now when I reread that scene, like, I like that. I love that Clary is like, no, you're doing this for the wrong reasons. I'm not going to be involved in this if you're just going to do this because you think that you have demon blood. Like, I'm not here for that. So I love that Clary, again, like, stands up for herself, and she's really, like, finding her voice in this book, which I love. But, like, I can't help but, like, love this scene, even though it's, like, super annoying.
Well, I found that, like, even Clary said it. Clary was like, I still want you, but I have angel blood, because this was right after the Ethereal had given them those scenes. So I was like, okay, something's not right. Like, he cannot have demon blood if she has angel blood, and then they have this connection. And I don't know, maybe it was just me thinking and stuff like that. I was like, yeah, no. Something's gonna come out. Jace probably isn't a demon. Something's gonna happen, and they're be happily ever after. And lo and behold, that's exactly what happened. So for me, when I read that scene, I wasn't like, I was so into it, but I wasn't like, oh no, like this is wrong, because I kind of had the feeling that it was gonna go in a whole different way.
Mhm.
I totally get that.
Yeah, I think I still remember, like, I didn't spoil the series for myself when I first read it as a teenager. And so, but I also wasn't a very critical reader then. So I remember thinking, like, they have to be together. Like, somehow there's gonna, this isn't gross because I know they're gonna be together and it's gonna work out. So that was my mindset as I was reading this scene. Like, I didn't think of it as gross because I was like, there's no conceivable way that this can be gross. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I want to highlight this one comment because I think it's so awesome. When we were talking about Jocelyn, Michaela says, Jocelyn's husband was poisoning their children. If y'all think her being overbearing is wrong, you would probably do the same. And I think that's also a really interesting perspective. I think it's easy to skip over that when we're talking about what Jocelyn did to Clary. Like, she was in an abusive relationship for so many years and she went through a lot. So I although I can disagree with her actions, I guess when it's put in that light, like it's more understandable that she would go to an extreme. And I, like, of course, with them reconciling, like they make they make their amends with it. But I think that's interesting to think of it from that perspective, that like it's not just that she was trying to protect Clary, but it's also the severity of what she went through with her first child that like really influences her decisions.
Yeah.
Let's see if we're probably going to end in a couple minutes, but I want to see if there's any more questions, or if you guys have any questions, feel free to bring them up. Let's see. I'm just like scrolling through the top. If you guys have any last minute questions, to those of you watching, feel free to ask them in the comments. Oh, okay. Speaking of runes, what do you guys think of Simon receiving the mark of Cain? Because that's also another like sort of open-ended thing that isn't resolved at the end of the story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think when the first couple times I read this book, I didn't understand how big of a deal it actually was until I went throughout the series and actually like found out like, oh, hey, this is a thing. I don't know. It's crazy because like Raphael goes to kill him and he's like, hold up, you have that on your forehead. What's you in there? He's like, you know what? You want to be like such an adult? You can fight with us on the battlefield. And I think that's such like a defining moment for Simon too as well. So it's just, yeah, like you said, it's an open-ended thing.
I always loved that Simon was so willing to sacrifice himself for it. Like he was not expecting to come out of that alive when he first agreed to it, but then he had the idea of the mark of Cain. And I just love how it's just like another thing that alienates him from other people. I feel like that separation from Shadowhunters and even other Downworlders is just really central to his character, because he starts out as a mundane in a world of Shadowhunters, and then he becomes a Downworlder in a world of Shadowhunters. And then he becomes a Daylighter, so he's even alienated from the Daylighters. And now there's just like so many different parts of his identity that separate him from other people. And that must be like so lonely to have all of those differences and no one to relate to. So I always thought it was such an interesting choice on Cassie's part. And it's just so central to his character for him to constantly have all of these things separating him from the people, even when he like joins a new group.
Yeah, he doesn't have, because Claire is also thrown into such a new world, but she has the Shadowhunters to lean on, and he really doesn't even have Clary anymore because she's trying to figure out who she is and see what's happening. So I definitely can appreciate Simon more as a character this reread, because I actually didn't used to like him that much, to be totally honest. When I was a younger reader, I was just like, well, he's standing in the way of Clay, so what's his point? But now I definitely like him and love him pretty much as a character.
I really love Simon as a character. You can see his like development throughout.
Yeah.
He sacrificed himself like twice in this book. The first time when he stayed in the guard, and then also when he went to Raphael and stuff. I just thought that it was so amazing, especially like how Cassie used him as that character to kind of like as a protection thing, because when I was reading it, I was always like, oh, it's going to be Chase is going to protect. And then all of a sudden you see like Simon going up front and being like, oh no, like I can do it too. Like I can be a protector as well. So it was amazing just seeing like his development as a character, especially within a series, and him being so unlike any of the other characters.
I can actually imagine Cassie having so much fun writing about Diamond.
Oh my gosh, Cassie must have the most fun writing her books, honestly.
She's an evil mastermind.
All right. I feel like we can take maybe like one more question to talk about. If anyone has like a specific thing we want to talk about.
Oh, I have one.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about Hodge coming back in this book? Like, I didn't see it coming, and in the reread, I totally forgot. So it was like a complete surprise to me again that Hodge is Samuel. And I remember thinking, like, he came back for these kids that he clearly loves, but also betrayed.
Hodge is just so forgettable that like I feel like almost every reread, everyone just forgets about him until he pops up. But I love it because it's so unexpected.
Ugh, he's just, I think, not to be totally like brutal, but I think he's a good definition of a coward, to be totally honest with you guys.
Yeah.
His character annoyed me, and in one of the previous live shows, one of your co-hosts, Emma, said, "Oh, I had only read Harry Potter, so I thought it was going to be kind of like a Dumbledore thing." No,
oh, I remember.
No.
Yeah. Polar opposite.
Yes.
Yeah. I think Hodge is just a really interesting character because like he was always sort of an outcast, and so he because he never really excelled in anything, he never was like, he never had anything to be proud of, that it was so easy for him to gravitate towards Valentine. And I feel like that sort of gave him this feeling of sort of like learned helplessness, where he felt like he would never be able to amount to anything, so he always went along with Valentine. And even in the end, when he went to the Clave to try and fix it, like they didn't believe him and they just threw him in jail. And I think he's a really interesting character, although like I do not like him. And like, out of all the characters that could have died in City Glass, like he was one that like definitely could have gone. I love how it ends, like his last words are supposed to be like, "You were never Valentine's son." I find that really interesting, and it makes it sort of feel like he was trying to do something right in his last moments, which just adds to the interest of his character.
I actually really liked Hodge as a character. I found that he was really complex, and he was like one of those characters that you knew, like, okay, he's definitely someone that's going to betray or someone that's going to do something, but he's so central to the part of the story. And I just remember when I found out that Samuel was Hodge, like, I was shook. I was like, no, I thought that he was done in City of Bones, but oh my God, like Cassie just brings her character to life in like the most unique ways. So I absolutely loved like his return to the story and how he played to his story in this line of the story. But his death, I kind of was just like, okay, like it happened. Like I wasn't sad or anything. I just liked him as a character.
Yeah, I also think it's really interesting that Sebastian's the one that killed him. So Valentine's son killed him. Yeah, and he was so trusting in Valentine. And to Jace, he was like, "Oh, I don't know which one you were." And now, hey, well, the other one killed you.
It's definitely really interesting. So I think that about concludes the live show. Oh my goodness. So thank you guys so much for watching and participating. I've loved reading all of your input on all of the different topics that we picked up on today in the chat. And of course, thank you so much to my lovely co-host for joining me and discussing this amazing book with me, because I just always love. Okay, wait, one more question, because I think really quick. Out of 5 stars, what would you give this book? I would give it 5 stars.
5.
It's so good.
5 out of 5 stars always.
4.
5.
I think it's just like the loose ends bugged me, but now there are more, so it's like okay.
Totally. I give it a 5 again.
It's just so good, and I love City of Glass so much. So thank everyone who participated in this live show for joining me. Definitely check out the Drake Society Facebook page, and we'll be posting more updates. The next live show will be Clockwork Angel, book one of the Infernal Devices series, because we're doing it in publication order. So I'm very excited to dive into this reread. And of course, if you want to check out the co-hosts' bookstagrams and booktube channels, you definitely should. It's all in the description of this video. But that really concludes tonight's live show. So thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you soon for a new one. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.